Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of News for Normies. And if you have a normie in your life that needs to hear some news, but they're tired of corporate media lies, share this video with them and let me know what you think down in the comments below. So, to start this episode, I'm going to talk about some good news recently. Just yesterday, as of me recording this video, the Supreme Court vacated the ATF pistol brace ruling and found it unconstitutional, as well as Donald Trump's bump stock ban from 2017. They found that to be unconstitutional as well. So this makes me very happy. The ATF has far outstepped their power and boundaries for far too long, and it is about time that they got put back in their place a little bit, in my opinion. This is one of my big criticisms of Donald Trump. I liked a lot of his economic policies while he was president, but this is one that I was not so fond of. So if you agree with me, hit that like button on the video. All across Europe, we are seeing that far-right populism is becoming more prominent. If you look at any news sources here in America, they often talk about the southern border and immigration issues that we're having. But many European countries are having way worse immigration issues than we are. However, for them, a lot of it's coming from Africa, mostly like northern African countries and stuff. But several countries are kind of getting tired of illegal immigration into their country, such as Italy and Germany, and they've seen some elections go heavily right-leaning for their countries. Likewise, the French president has recently said that they are going to dissolve parliament and call for some snap elections here soon. So that'll be interesting to see how things go there. Speaking of people kind of coming to their senses, John Fetterman recently said that his stroke caused him to, quote, be free from progressivism. Now, if you've heard him speak at all recently, he's been, even though he's registered in the Democrat Party, he has been saying some stuff that would more likely line up with Republican voters and stuff, talking about immigration issues and things like that. So it's interesting to see how he's kind of doing a 180 here. Since Israel has been in the news a lot in the last almost year now, good news from Israel, they were able to rescue 4 hostages from Hamas while facing some criticism for some 200 Gazan people dead. Some are claiming that Israel or Israeli forces were the cause of this, but there's been some video coming out from this rescue mission that shows the IDF forces clearly not shooting unarmed civilians. So good for Israel for rescuing hostages, and even more so for kind of showing the world, like, hey, we're not doing some of the stuff you're claiming we're doing. Now, I will say some of their bombing campaigns they've done, probably not a good idea, but, I'm just a guy talking about stuff on the internet. When I heard this yesterday, I started laughing real bad, like real hard. So the IDF has also been fighting Hezbollah for some time as well, and apparently the IDF decided to make things a little harder on themselves by building trebuchets and launching flaming projectiles at Hezbollah combatants. They're literally going medieval on their ass. And I find it kind of fitting that these people that want to live like 8th century barbarians are being fought with medieval tactics. So I don't even know what else to say here other than good for the IDF for this, I suppose. Now to talk about some news that should piss you off a little bit. This past week, apparently 8 nationals from Tajikistan were detained in 3 big cities across the United States. I believe it was Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York City. These 8 people, these 8 men, allegedly had ties to ISIS and came into the country illegally via the southern border. Apparently, they were also vetted and just allowed to come into the country to do whatever they pleased. So, this shows us that even though Biden has claimed that they're going to strengthen the southern border, it's clearly not working. So, if you want to see the southern border situation fixed again, then vote Donald Trump in November. So, I know this is a week old now, but apparently some more pro-Hamas rioters caused a bit of chaos in D.C. last Saturday, June 8th. Fought with police, threw stuff over the fences onto the White House lawn, all this kind of stuff. But nobody was arrested for this. So, I've got another thing I'm going to talk about here in a minute, but this goes to show that there's still largely a 2-tier system of justice in this country. If you align with the powers that be, you can go burn down cities and cause chaos and nothing happens to you. But if you align more with, anti-establishment likes, and you simply walk around in a building that the police let you into, then you get 20 years in prison. So this goes to show that it's not just Trump that needs to be voted back in office, but we need to vote out a lot of these career politicians that have been in office for way too long. The likes of Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Chuck Grassley, who's been in office way longer than Joe Biden, but he's Republican. So it's not just the Democrat Party, it's both. It is a uniparty, and anybody that's been in office for, I think, over 10 years needs to go. Oh, that's a good little segue here. Speaking of January 6th there for a second, some video has come out this week of Nancy Pelosi admitting that she was the one in charge of getting National Guard in D.C. on January 6th, but she didn't. And she claims that she's going to be taking full responsibility of this. Now, this video was recorded day of or the day after the January 6th protest happened. But then she kept going on and on about how this was Trump's fault and blah, 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 blah. So, if you're watching this in California where she's from, this is more evidence that she needs to be voted out of office. But let's be honest, y'all are Democrats there too, so you're just going to keep following in lockstep with her. Wouldn't surprise me. Oh, man. Oh, since I was speaking about the uniparty and just doing whatever the hell they want to do, this week, a list of people that's kind of being colloquially called the Ukraine enemy list was leaked and contains the names of people who are generally opposed to giving Ukraine any more money or support. Some of the people on this list include Donald Trump, no surprise, Tim Pool, Tucker Carlson, again, no surprise, Steven Crowder, and Vivek Ramaswamy. I know for a fact that these guys are wearing this as a badge of honor, and Tim Pool this week on his Daily Show actually got pretty heated about this. But I agree with his sentiment. How is it right for a foreign country to say that they just demand our money? Especially while our country's going through some problems too. Doesn't make any sense. What also doesn't make any sense is how the United States allowed Russia to send a fleet of naval ships into Cuba for training exercises. Now, I get that the U.S. Navy also dispatched some ships to keep an eye on them, but this is not just a training exercise. This is Russia trying to flex some muscle and kind of bow up a little bit with the United States. And this really reminds me of the Cuban Missile Crisis back during the John F. Kennedy administration. Now, it's a little different. I get that because Cuba doesn't have, missile batteries pointed at the U.S. now, but there was a bit of a standoff in the sea between Russia and the United States, which literally almost resulted in nuclear war. If you want to learn more about that, go look it up, because you're using the internet right now, so you can look that up on your own time. Some more concerning news. For over 50 years, the United States has had a deal with Saudi Arabia to use the United States dollar as world currency to purchase oil with. This is commonly known as the petrodollar, and this deal expired last week on June 9th, and no new deal for this was brought up. Now, this could have some very, very serious economic problems for the United States in the long-term future. This is also why, when we ask, why is the United States sending money to Pakistan for gender studies research or whatever, it's not that. The U.S. is sending money like this all over the world so that way people can buy oil with it. And if the world's largest producer of oil is not using the U.S. dollar anymore, then we could be in a world of hurt. So do with that what you will. Just be prepared for some economic turmoil in the future. All right. And we are coming to a close with this. Former Attorney General Merrick Garland is being held in contempt of Congress, and Steve Bannon has been ordered to appear to jail for the same thing. Not for exactly, the same reasons, but they're both being held in contempt of Congress. However, I remember a while back, Hunter Biden never showed up for a hearing before Congress, but he's not being held in contempt of Congress either. So again, this still highlights how there is a two-tier system of justice. However, Hunter Biden was found guilty on gun charges in Delaware because he lied on the 4473 form when he went to buy a gun. If you're not familiar with this, when you go to buy a firearm from a firearms dealer, you have to fill out the 4473 form and go through a background check. This gun charge has kind of had pro-gun people on the internet a little divided on the issue. On one hand, people are happy to see that somebody from the Biden family is actually being prosecuted for crimes. On the other, some are arguing that this violates the Fifth Amendment for an individual's right to not incriminate themselves on crimes, because on the 4473 form it asks if you are addicted to illicit substances or things of this nature, and that's what they got him on, for saying no on this form, even though he was addicted to crack at the time. So I'm kind of in the middle here as well. Like I said, I'm happy that Hunter Biden is being found guilty on some gun crimes, but it also proposes a bit of a constitutional issue here. So maybe the Supreme Court will hear this at some point and rule that that qualification on the 4473 form is unconstitutional. What I also find interesting was the same day that Hunter was convicted of these charges, his daddy Joe Biden was given a speech about gun control and falsely claimed again that people can't own cannons, because this is blatantly false, and also said that for people who wanted to rise up against the U.S. federal government, they would need equipment like F-15s. Now, I have some arguments for this. One, the Founding Fathers literally told people that if they had their own private warship, they could have cannons on the thing. I think it was somebody wrote to James Madison asking about this, and James Madison wrote back in short, yeah, go ahead, dummy. That's what we meant. They made it pretty clear what the Second Amendment meant. It wasn't for hunting. It wasn't for sport. It was literally to keep the federal government from becoming tyrannical. Second, Joe Biden likes to use this F-15s argument about, revolutions and stuff, but kind of forgot about how Vietnam went and how Iraq went, now Afghanistan went against guerrilla forces that largely didn't have air support. Now, in Vietnam, they did have some air support, probably from Russia, but the Iraq and Afghanistan terrorist forces didn't have anything like that. And after 20 years, the U.S. withdrew and basically handed those countries back over to terrorists anyway. So, I also like Tim Pool's argument on this. A drone or an F-15 can't occupy street corners. And also, just now thinking about this, isn't the F-15 a very outdated fighter jet? I believe so. I think we're up to like the F-35 now, but I could be wrong. So, when people start talking about gun control, they're full of shit. That's what it is. More news stories are coming out talking about the Biden family corruption, such as confirmation of the Hunter Biden laptop story, and news reports stating that Chinese money was used to pay off mortgages for both Joe and Hunter Biden. This is very concerning because it shows, again, the aristocracy in this country will do everything they can to protect themselves and will do everything to strip rights away from you. It's also, a whole smoke and mirrors thing. And finally here, wrapping up with the news, while he was overseas for the G7 summit, Joe Biden started wandering off from other world leaders, and I guess he was there to try to ease tensions between the U.S., Russia, and China, but I don't think that happened. And likewise, once he got back here to the States, Joe Biden was asked by a TikToker about his support of Israel and threatened to throw the guy's phone. Look, people, it is clear that Joe Biden is not all there mentally. Okay, can we fully admit that? Like, anybody with eyes that can see this. Like, I'm legally blind in one eye, and I can clearly see the man ain't all there upstairs. So, I don't know how anybody at this point can continue to support Joe Biden. He's done nothing good for this country in the 4 years he's been president. He's been blatantly racist in the past, and he's literally, like, decaying before our eyes. So, it's been a while since I've done this, but I do have a conspiracy theory to talk about. And for that, I am going to don the tinfoil top hat. So, this week, I was listening to the PBD podcast, and one of the stories that they talked about really interested me here. They were talking about the possibility of Joe Biden having body doubles to give appearances when when the administration needs Joe Biden to look good. They played a video clip of him giving a sit-down speech recently, and when he was talking in this speech, he was pretty coherent and mostly clear with what he was saying. But then they compared it to another speech he gave where he just seemed very slow and out of breath and just looked very tired. I've also seen people online in the past talking about the different appearances Joe Biden has had and the earlobes being different. Also on the PBD podcast, they talked about a woman who was the head of the CIA disguise department or whatever, and how she basically fooled George W. Bush during his administration. That was over almost 20 years ago. So if they could fool the sitting president 20-something years ago, imagine how good their stuff is now. And this wouldn't be the first time in modern history that a world leader has used body doubles, because we know Saddam Hussein had body doubles And again, that was almost 20 years ago. So if Saddam Hussein had body doubles then, it wouldn't surprise me if Biden did now. So what's the conspiracy theory? My theory is, and it's not completely my original thought, so I can't take all the credit for this. I personally believe that they have body doubles for Biden using like realistic, possibly like silicone type masks or however they make them. They have body doubles that they send out when Biden needs to look good and make a coherent point, but possibly the real Joe Biden, who is clearly suffering from vascular dementia, they trot him out when they need him to look bad. So, yeah, so that's the conspiracy theory. Body doubles for the current president of the United States. So, that's all I got for this week. If you learned something new or found this interesting, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that like button. Share it with some normies in your life that need to hear the news. And I will see y'all next time.